A reading from the Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God still and trust in me. There are many rooms in my Father's house. If there were not, I should have told you. I am now going to prepare a place for you, and after I have gone and prepared you a place, I shall return to take you with me, so that where I am, you may be too. You know the way to the place where I am going." Thomas said, "Lord, we do not know where you are going, so how can we know the way?" Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. If you know me, you know my Father too. From this moment you know him and have seen him." Philip said, "Lord, let us see the Father, and then we shall be satisfied." "Have I been with you all this time, Philip?" said Jesus to him, "and you still do not know me? To have seen me is to have seen the Father. So how can you say, 'Let us see the Father'? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak of as from myself. It is the Father living in me who is doing this work. You must believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. Believe it on the evidence of this work, if for no other reason. I tell you solemnly, whoever believes in me will perform the same works as I do myself. He will perform even greater works because I am going to the Father." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Here's a little story I found somewhere. I'll read it. Two bachelors lived with their elderly mother. The older one was cold, unfeeling. The other was affectionate and very fond of his cat. When the younger one went into state for 4 days, he told his brother he would phone each evening to talk to his cat Kitty so that Kitty would sleep well. The first night when he phoned, the older brother said simply to him, "The cat's dead." Horrified, the young one said, "You should have let me know gently by saying Kitty was up on the roof playing with a ball of string and he fell and hurt his paw. Then the second night you could have told me that Kitty wasn't feeling well as his leg was broken and had turned septic. And on the third night you could have said Kitty died peacefully. I would have been more prepared for what you needed to tell me." Then the younger brother asked, "How's Mother?" His older brother replied, "Well, Mother was up on the roof playing with a ball of string." Yeah. Thing is, pointed that there's different ways of explaining things. One just wanted the facts, and the other one wanted context. Yeah. Now in the Gospels, like Luke, for example, and Mark, Luke said, we've mentioned this lots of times, Luke said at the beginning, many have undertaken to write a narrative of all the things that have happened about Jesus. That's Luke 1, chapter 1. And he also went on to say, "And for some time I've set out to write an orderly account myself of what happened with Jesus." And also we've heard this one many times too. John remarked at the end of his gospel, there were actually many other things, but they're not written in this book. They're not written in the book of John. So in that, there are different ways to explain things. If something happens somewhere, and we're all there, there'd be many different accounts. Some would notice things that others didn't, and all that kind of thing, and mistakes, and then lack of memory when you come to tell what happened or write what happened. All we have our own way of getting there, and we know that like each of the four Gospels, as many have pointed out, they're like four artists doing a painting. So one of the writers is a Jesuit. His name is Felix Just. And he's noticed, others have noticed this, but he noticed that in the Gospel of John, only in John, that Jesus says the phrase, I am, 45 times. He's added them up. And of the 45, half of them are a very emphatic I am. There's a way of doing that for those who have done some Greek, there's a way of doing that in Greek, which even if you can't read Greek, you can see it if somebody points out what's happening. There's a way in Greek of saying I am, and there's a way when you're using the same word where it becomes I am. It's a real stress. And that happens in half the times of the I ams in John. Felix Just has written all this up. So if we were doing that, we might use a textra colour or underline it or capital letters, but there's a way of doubling the word I. So it becomes I am, like that. So today's gospel, we heard the words, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And that's in the strong sense. It's really forcing the point. I am the way, the truth, and the life. So that's the way he went about it. And he put it all in kind of story form. Whether the stories are like videotape replay stories or using his imagination on how Jesus really was, it's not clear, but it doesn't matter. The important things, according to those who see it this way, are the I am statements. Now, for some people, we would have been happy, I could cope with this, I think, if we just had a list of the I ams, all of them. Last week was I am the gate, I am the good shepherd. And if we wanted to, we could, even if we're inclined, we may be more inclined in my day as a kid because we did learn things off by heart, like that catechism. Some have done that. Well, you could have all the I am statements, and it wouldn't be a big deal to memorise them. I think I told you once I was kept in school, after school, for some misdemeanour. I don't know what it was, but what I had to do was learn off by heart John 15, 1-8. I had a train to catch. And when I did that when I am the vine, you are the branches, that whole passage, when I could do that, then brother said, you can go now. So but that wasn't that sounds more harsh now than it was then. Because there are hardly any books, those who are of a certain vintage, just a few books. Now there's resources that we can't even cope with. There's so many. Anyway, so that could have been one approach. Just remember the I am sayings. Possibly the most famous one in John's Gospel is in chapter 8. Before Abraham was, I am. Before Abraham was, I am, and it's a strong I am, and it's directed definitely in the direction of the divinity. I am. Matthew, who each of the gospel writers we said wrote from their own perspective. Matthew, when his version of that was, he'll be named Jesus, but he'll be called Emmanuel. That is, God with us. God with us. That's the you might say Matthew's equivalent of before Abraham was, I am. So as we're going into the Sundays now, John will be phased out in the Gospels, and we won't hear so much about I am. But there's so much in all that, and it's all deep mystery and faith. So today's one was, anyway, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life.